quick video on a HP motherboard, PC motherboard. Symptom of the board is that sometime it will turn on, sometime it won't turn on. Basically, first thing first, what I've done is I've had a visual look around these boards, and quite common, the capacitors on these boards can fail, and quite obviously the two on the top are bulged a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace those capacitors and then test them with the ESR Atlas Peak. It's manufactured by Peak Atlas ESR. There you go, if you can just see that. Yep, that's better. Atlas ESR 70 plus version, which is I believe it's the newer firmware upgrade. But I mean, they tend to sort of upgrade the firmware. So if you have an older unit, hopefully you should be able to contact Peak Atlas, which is based in Buxton in UK, and they should be able to sort of upgrade the firmware for you. Going back onto this now, I'm going to sort of desolder these. So please, and fire. Right, so it's these two caps here. Okay. Right, extractor fan. As always, protective gloves and a solder fume extractor. I'm going to add a bit of flux. And a bit of leaded solder, and I'm using a sort of a flat tip here from my with a MX 5000 series soldering station. I think it's simply one of the best soldering stations in the market that you can sort of buy, and if you're lucky enough to pick one off eBay, that is fantastic. Right, so I'm just going to sort of apply a bit of solder onto the tip of these pins of the actual capacitors. And same on the other one. The whole idea is that sort of by applying solder onto the pins, the removal process is just a piece of cake. The purpose of this, the flux, is to make the, there you go, that's one gone, is to make the solder flow better. There you go, that's the second one. And before sort of moving into replacing the pads, sorry, the capacitors, I'm going to sort of run a bit of copper braid, which is the original wick. You can buy all your stuff, if you're in UK, you can buy all your stuff from Insat International. As I've said this many times over, you can buy all your stuff from Insat International. Okay, just remove the excess solder. From the PCB. Sometimes you'll have difficulty sort of removing solders from the hole itself. But I wouldn't worry about that, okay? Well, at least for now. So I'm going to move the board and just test those capacitors. More than likely 99.9% sure that those capacitors are bad, and I'm going to change them regardless. But just to give you an idea as to how good of a device this is. Okay, so first thing first is I'm going to sort of calibrate this device. So turn it on, put the probes together, and hold onto this analyzing sound off. Okay, do that again. There you go, it says probe compensation. Short the probe. Stupidly enough, I did it first. No, you shouldn't do that. You should now. You should short the probe and press test. So we click onto that, and it says OK. So what that effectively means is that the probes are compensated, or actually they're calibrated. So now I can sort of do the test. see what it comes up with. See, one beep. When this device beeps twice, that means that it's okay. A capacitor which is 400 and sort of is it 460 if I'm not mistaken? No, I do apologise. It's 1500 microfarad capacitor, 6.3 volt, comes up as 454.7 microfarad at ESR at 1.92 ohms. So that's definitely a failure. Let's try the second one. There you go, that comes as 4, again the same capacitor value, 1500 microfarad, 6.3 volts, and that comes as 448.2, and the ESI is 2.5, which is obviously the there's a chart for this actually, so which you can download from Peak Atlas's website, and usually the chart comes with this, so you don't have to worry about that. Now going on to the replacement process. The 6.3, let's have a look. Yep, 1500 microfarad, 6.3. Let me see if I can get this zoomed and focused properly. That's better. It did focus and then it buggered off again, so I don't know why it did that, but let me just see if it... Sometimes I quite find it really annoying to sort of the automatic focus sort of a thing, so let's just bear with me for a second. Let me just have a play around with this for a minute. See if I can get it to focus. Nope, that's zoom. I do apologise. Okay, so where is focus? Here. No autofocus, right? Okay, so I think I'm going to have a bit of a look now. Yep, fantastic. There we go. 1500 microfarad, 6.3 volts, and just to cross-reference the capacitors on these, they are, well, the ones I've taken off, the faulty ones, I believe just about 1500 microfarad. At, you can see at the bottom just about here it says 6.3 volts. Okay, so let's get cracking on with the replacement of the capacitors. Put it back to auto zoom, apply. See when you're playing with solder tips, you've got to be careful. Look what I've just done. I think I've done this. Splattered solder on this, which is just ridiculously bonkers. So now I've got to clear this mess off first. It must have happened from the larger tip what I've used, and I had quite a bit of solder on it. So let's move that to the side. As I said to you before, it's a cracking piece of kit, the ESR meter. So just sort of, if you're interested in these sort of bits and bobs, try out the Peak Atlas's website. Oh my freaking! Jesus, man. Okay, that's brilliant. That's done beautifully. Yes, I've removed almost removed all the traces of the solder from the PCB itself. So that would have been a job from hell. Right, I'm going to put my glasses on. Well, when I say it's a prescription glass, I'm not risking, although that is not quite common for solder spitting and all this and that, I would still sort of utilise my pair of glasses just to be on the safe side. But as I said, it's not an absolute necessary. Right, just before I sort of apply, not apply, I meant to say, sorry, insert the new capacitors onto the board, what I would like to do is I would like to test those capacitors and make sure that those capacitors are within its spec. Fucking hell. What the hell? No. I'm having a bit of a mission peeling off this fucking tape. You know what? Fuck you. Fuck off. Piece of shit. Okay, here we go. Same size, same height, sort of a thing, same rating, so hopefully we should have no problem. Now going back onto this, I'm going to test these capacitors. See, the thing with this ESR80 is that when you actually attach a component to test it, automatically analyses and start measuring. So 1770 UF, which is absolutely fine. It's plus and minus, I think it's 5 to 10% the value, and the ESR should reads 0.01 ohms. Okay, so we know that this is okay. And the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is just to cross-ref, just to be on the safe side that the capacitors, the new capacitors, are non-problematic. Done the test again. I'll rerun the test again if necessary. There we go. So it beeped twice with 774 microfarad showing on the meter. So we'll finish with this. And this device, once it's not being utilised, it sort of switches off. I think after every 30 seconds. Right, now the problem I have here now is I could not take the solder out of these pinholes. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the way around this, is to sort of apply a bit more flux. Grab hold of more solder, leaded solder, and I use quite a high quality solder, which is I think by Alpha, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's find the orientation of the capacitors. So that would be the orientation. So the white mark on the marking on the PCB we should line up with the mark on the capacitor. Hang on a sec, I will do that shortly, but let me I might be able to poke this in actually through, because one hole's got solder. Oh, that's gone through. I do apologise, that's gone through. So there must have been a very tiny amount of solder left. I've just wiggled and bent the pin so that as I'm soldering, or as soon as I let go of the capacitor, it doesn't drop back down again. Okay, so just reapplying solder onto the and hold it for about a couple of seconds. I may not have mentioned this before, but in a professional field of soldering, the tip of the solder iron should not be touching the actual component for more than 2 seconds. Oops. And I make another cock and balls of solder splash on the PCB. Okay, I am going to inspect the board anyway on my final thing. Okay, so that's one down, one more to go. Okay, now I have a funny feeling that I may struggle to poke anything through these pinholes, so I may need to apply. I might not actually. Let's just apply a bit of solder on one of the hole which has solder already in it. So when I'm pressing the capacitor from the underneath, I should say. It should nicely go through the opposite side. Right, so I've lined it up, hopefully, and then apply heat think I must have misaligned the thingy. I've got a lot of fume. I need to reposition the extractor fan, so just bear with me for a second or two, please, guys. That's better. It's on top of my bench, so anything that gets sort of sucked in. You do not want to smell the flux. It's a nasty stuff. It's a cause of cancer, apparently. I'm just sort of trying to... Yep, okay, so that's gone in. Fucking bullshit, man. Come on, there we go. Okay. What? Just bear with me, guys. I've got a call to attend. Just stay tuned for a couple of minutes. Sorry about this. Okay, so far what I've done is I've put the capacitors back in, I've replaced it in the correct orientation as well. Now the leg that's standing up high here, what I'm going to do is, let me just turn the camera this way and possibly zoom. See how good the zoom is. Okay, the image quality seems to be a bit disturbed, but see those extra, yeah, you can see it now. I'm going to chop them off so they're not sticking out, otherwise onto the rear side of the casing, otherwise it'll short the whole board out. I think that's about it. I'm just going to re-inspect the joints. I might have to sort of reapply a bit of solder onto the this cap. Okay. I'll just run another sort of a quick reflow on these caps joints anyway. No harm done. Okay, so that's all for soldering side of it. The reason why I use the Metcalm X 5000 series is, well, there's a number of good reasons why. First of all is these sort of soldering stations are utilised in production lines. They're very expensive. As I said before, if you do get one off eBay, you're very lucky. You can pick them up for reasonably priced, sometimes half the price of what they're retailing for. Do not try and attempt to buy a brand new unit from eBay, because some of the sellers are an absolute complete rip-off. I'm just trying to think of the site name. Fernal UK, I think it is. They're selling the station for about 450 plus tax, VAT. So I think it's a fair price. On eBay, the same station is for about £900 plus £1,000, £1,200. That is just ridiculous, that. So if you want a brand new unit, buy it from an authorized reseller, so you know that the unit is under guarantee. And you know, if you're gonna be sort of making money, running a business, you want to make sure that you have good tools to work with. Now, if you have good tools and you can't do the job, then you need a bit more sort of training or whatever. Sometimes the tools can let you down, sometimes it's yourself, and the best way to be the judge of that is to sort of have good tools, start off with some decent tools, maybe not too expensive. I mean, I have a soldering station here, which is an Ursa Icon, which I initially had before, but you know, I've quickly sort of realised that Ursa is one of the fucking shittest soldering stations that you can buy on the face of this planet, and the reason being for this is the tip availability is very low, and secondly, it's ridiculously expensive. Now, I do apologise for Ursa fans, but I can assure you that these Ursa soldering stations are in no comparison with the Metcal, which is known as to be OK International, OKI, which is OK. I stands for international. This is the manufacturers who actually, I believe, either franchised or bought out Metcal or rebranded themselves as OK International. So it's OKI. I'm going to do a quick inspection because I did splatter some solders previously before on the joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of try and clean all that off with IPA 100%. In fact, I'm going to use my toothbrush or a little pencil brush and just get rid of the flux. Have a clean joint. Okay, just sort of clean those off, joints off. It's always a good idea to add leaded solders onto a lead-free joint to remove it, because the it's due to the fact that the removal process is a lot easier due to the fact that the temperature for the leaded solders is 183 degrees Celsius versus lead-free 217 degrees Celsius. So it helps to sort of melt the joints quicker, so you can remove the components off the surface of the PCB quickly. So these have been sort of connected to the correct orientation. Okay, what's next? I have to put the board back in to the system to try and deal with the to demonstrate the fact that it's working. You're just gonna have to take my word for it, basically. And because if I give you a quick view of what's actually happening, the room's mess. And oh yeah, my bike. I've just bought this bike. Beautiful bike, the camcorder. There you go. So I've got to go over across the room, sort of fine tuning the bike, sort of a thing. So I haven't got room to sort of get to try and put the thing back on again. So that's where the unit is. So talking about biking, I've just recently started biking actually, and this is my sort of second bike. I picked up a bike for about roughly, I think it was about £100. Rode that for about a couple of weeks and then decided that I'm going to upgrade to a high-end bike. Absolutely cracking piece of kit. It weighs about just less than 15 kg. Although that the video is not about this. RockShox suspension here. Sorry, Shimano, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Fluid brake system. That's the steering column, which is longer than standard. Those are into the bike. You know what the bike, this sort of bike is. It's an XL GT sensor XL, I think, Expert Pro or something like that. It is, if I can remember from the top of my head. And I think seats quite nice and comfortable. And the tyres are tubeless tyres. And hopefully this is a Fox gas shock absorber, I believe. So hopefully I'll be keeping this for a little while. So anyway, going back into the original topic, let me sort of okay, so that's all really. hopefully, you know, as I said to you before, just the best way to detect problems is to sort of look around the PCB and see for any visual problem, and then sort of target, sort of get those components changed, and moment of truth after. So I think I believe we should be okay with it, and if there is any sort of a problem, I will make those notes on the description below, but I'm 99.9% sure that the board will sort of work fully. I'm just having a quick glance at the back of the PCB just to make sure that I haven't made any solder splash. No, we're okay. We're good to go. Right. Just on a quick topic, talking about the soldering station. Yeah, the fanboys of any others. I mean, it doesn't bother me what you use. It's down to individual discretion as to what tool you're using. But my way of looking at it is the fact that I want the best of the best, and the best of the best of these sort of soldering stations. They're expensive, as I said before, but hence, you know, what you pay for what you get these days. Now, in terms of the Ursa, I was comparing with you before. Yes, this has a very limited select of tips availability, but at the same time, the higher end of Ursa also has limited tip availability versus something like this. And the reason being for this is, let me show you something. See all that in there? All those tips are, there's probably about all kinds of tips here. You know, I probably think about, how many have I got here? Probably about 20, approximately 20 variations of tips here. And there we go, those are the tips over there, the various ones. BGA, this is a wider one to clean BGA pads, things like that. The one I've used on before, I also use this to clean BGA pads. Or removing components. And there is like a curved one here, which is, again, it's a cracking piece of tip to sort of do. You can do any sort of a multitasking tip. This actually, I would say, and you can also do drag soldering with it. Apparently, for drag soldering, this is the soldering tip that's recommended actually. This with like a chisel type with a bit of a sharp tip. I'm sorry, you won't be able to see it actually. The camera won't focus, unfortunately. It's more like a chisel type sort of a tip. This, and it's ideal for drag soldering and things like that. But I can, you know, my hands are steady enough, and the tip what I use for drag soldering is this. So that's just having that tip. The second one is in sort of an added bonus sort of a thing. But as I said, it's a beautiful sort of a UX station. It's 80 watts of heat output, and it has a smart heat technology where I believe the temperature can be adaptive based on the surface, and you can leave the iron on the surface for a little longer and it will not damage the PCB. So I think this is it really. So hopefully I'll speak to you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching. Okay, so I'm having a bit of trouble sort of getting out of open, sort of closing down Open Broadcaster. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Yes, of course. Right, okay, let's just have a quick word read about this ESR machine. Okay, so just on a very short note, I do apologise, I was going to end the video, but I thought just maybe to mention something about this. Okay, it's a brilliant little device. It's roughly about between £80 to £100 in UK currency, and you can order it from P Catalyst's website directly. It works out cheaper. If you go on through eBay, if somebody's selling refurbished units, maybe you can pick up a bargain, but I'd still recommend just buying brand new equipment. especially particularly these sort of sensitive devices. And what they'll do is, if you buy a new one, you will get the latest firmware updates on it already pre-installed. Now these crocodile clips sort of comes off, and I have some sharp, let me see if you can see it, yep, they come off, the banana clips. I have some sharp probe which the banana clip will plug into this, and you can probe around on the board. But in-circuit testing can be sort of awkward, as you know, if you're into electronics, that you know the true value can be sort of different depending on how the capacitors are, sort of if they're in parallel, and or you know, the reading will not be right. You need to take the component off the circuit to try and get an accurate reading on these capacitors and things like that. I'm not going to go into that fully. So, and where you can buy this is, let me just try and see if I can show you. Okay, just stay tuned, PCAP. So let's open up Mozilla Firefox. PCATless. Let's type in PCATless. Okay, there we go. That's the website. You can order. The product range is here, so let's have a look. Testing instruments. Got these. The different ones. Some of them are for transistors. These are for to measure transistors and things like that. LCR meter, Atlas DCA Pro. These are kit, I believe. Them are kit actually. These are individual, and then they charge about £3-4 for postages within the UK. And the one I'm using is this, the Atlas ESR Pro 70 Plus Xenodiode. That's quite interesting that they must have brought this out recently. I've not seen it. So there's a lot of things you can actually sort of, well, a lot of testing gears that they sell. I think this is it. So those are the ones. So let's just try and see how much the postage is on that, to be exact. Okay. Let's one quantity. Okay. Let me try and see if I can check out now. Right, so what it's doing is it's not showing me a postal cost, because not until I insert all these details and everything and the postcode, but I believe it should be about £3 to £4. So I think that's about it really. Let me just go back onto the website again, the main home page, and see. Come on. Okay, yeah, this is a pretty new product actually, what they've launched. So you got a full range of testing equipments here. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant to buy. Particularly, I'm not sure about the LCR45 because that can sort of do the job for you. So I'm not quite sure about them too, but I'd definitely get an ESR45. If you're into sort of diagnosing and troubleshooting a lot of transistors, then this would be your best protocol really. So I haven't got one because I don't deal with a lot of transistor sort of replacement and things like that. But capacitors are quite common failure. So is the transistors. But that's it really. Oh my friggin' hell! Right, okay. I made a cock and balls out of it. Right, okay. Sorry guys, it didn't sort of get the thing because I did not switch onto the open broadcaster to sort of view the BenQ monitor. So let me just sort of edit the scene and no. Okay, so it looks like that the BenQ, something happened here. Right, I'm gonna have to remove all them. Just bear with me please. Let me just sort of remove all this, because what's actually happening is I did not actually, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna have to minimize. Sorry, just going back onto the PCATless website, you didn't see the website because I didn't switch back onto the screen capture. I think my screen capture was a bit messed up, I believe. Right, so those are the range of testing equipments you can buy. I have the ESR 70, £84 and £84 including VAT, and plus shipment that's about anything between £3 to £4. Without certificate it's £70 plus VAT. With calibration certificate it's £90 plus VAT. And the one I was referring to, for the transistor, is this one. I would like to buy one, but I'm not doing a lot of transistor replacement at the moment. Hopefully I'll order one pretty soon. It's nice to have it in hand, sort of a thing. And you do sort of see the different measurements, including the leakages on the transistor itself. Maybe YouTube it and you'll find more info when people are sort of utilizing and sort of demonstrating how good of a device this is. So there you go. Okay, a thumbs up for BT Atlas. I think they brought out a new range of I may have sort of mentioned this to you before. I think they brought out is a Xena diode tester as well here, which is interesting. It's not that expensive, I guess. Definitely on my shopping list. Latest firmware. So this is what I mean when there's a firmware. When you buy it off them, you can they will provide you with the pre-installed firmware, the latest version, and also if you feel that the device is sort of if you want to upgrade the firmware, then you send it off to them and they'll sort of ship it back to you with it being sort of upgraded. But this is going to be definitely in my shopping list, and maybe the DCA Pro 75 Pro. So I think excuse me, I think that's it really. Thank you for watching.